Welcome, everybody. My name's Stephen Teal. I'm your host of the Northwest Fishing Club podcast. Tonight, as always, I've got my wonderful co-host, Todd Logan, with us. And then we've also got our special guest, Nate Kinney of NK Fishing Guides. He's a professional fishing guide here in Southern Oregon, fishes the Rogue, Umpqua, and fishes with Todd up on Odell Lake. So thanks for joining us tonight, Nate. Why don't you start us off with a little bit of background about yourself? How long you've been guiding? What's your favorite river? Just give us the whole detail.
Oh, man. All right. I started guiding in 2016. Favorite river, that's toss-up. You gotta specify species if you want me to answer that one correctly.
Okay.
So if we're fishing steelhead, it depends. Well, that's a tough one too. Depends on the month. But I love the Rogue. It's right in my backyard. Grew up here. So from February through April, I like the Rogue. If I had to choose for steelhead, it would be right in my backyard on a good run. I'm gonna leave the other rivers out of the deal because they are just a little inconsistent, and I just don't want to say where I like to fish the most. That's my take on that.
Fair enough.
So I can't really answer that honestly for you at the moment. Favorite river, yeah, it would be right here in my backyard. I'd rather fish my home water than any other water, whether the run's good or bad. So there's your honest answer.
I agree. I enjoy fishing the Rogue.
Yep. Salmon.
Gotta be the Rogue
one too. Spring salmon. Yeah, spring salmon. I'd rather fish the Upper Rogue than anywhere else. That's the only place I fish for spring salmon. So that's going to be my number one for springers. Fall salmon, I'm not going to go battle with 150 boats in Gold Beach, and mostly because that's not my style of fishing. I don't like that many people around me.
I think that's
quarters down there.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
tight quarters for sure. They catch a lot of fish. I'm missing out on a lot of action. No doubt in my mind. It's fun at times, and that's just not what my clientele likes. So that's why I don't. It's on down there.
we just don't enjoy that chaos. You know, we don't fish, or and my guess for the most part are the same way. They even though they're going to catch a lot of fish, that's just not what they're in. They're in for the experience as much as they're in for the fish, and it's just not their type of fishing.
Yep, exactly.
No, I'm with
Nothing
you.
against it. It's not just not my style, not my clientele style.
Yeah.
There's some coastal rivers, November, December, that are probably my favorite fishery for fall salmon in a drift boat, not trolling or nothing like that. So some little coastal rivers that's more up my clientele's alley, and most guys that fish a lot know where I'm talking about. That's my style of guiding, is less population the better.
Nice.
A little bit more, not more personable. I don't want it to sound that way. You know me. I don't like to run a motor on my drift boat for winter steelhead. I would rather float. I would rather have one chance at those fish and float 40 miles than smell gas and listen to that motor. It's just not what winter steelhead is for me personally.
Yeah.
And so I kind of cater to that clientele of, because I don't like the Stanton 500. I don't enjoy that fishing. I want to be away. I'm like you. I want to be away from people, and just kind of enjoy everything that we're getting to do. I think it's a missed opportunity on a lot of people's part of, it's okay to have half the fish or sometimes just as many or more, but it's don't just do it because that's what everybody else is doing. Just run your own program, fish the way you like to fish, and do that. Don't get into that whole, you have to do it because that's what everybody does. Yeah. I don't care what everybody does. I'm going to go fish, and there's going to be people in front of me. There's going to be people behind me. I just run my own program. But at the same time, being respectful to, everybody else fishing as well. It's not just about me, but yeah. I prefer just to enjoy all of it rather than, round rosy. I just hate it. I won't do it. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you're a lot the same way, Nate, that's why you don't fish that style either. It's just not your forte, I guess.
Nope. It's not. I love people. I love nice people. But I don't like people that much to be fishing with my clients around that many people. And that's the bottom line.
I love people. No more than 4 at a time.
Yep. Got enough to deal with in the boat.
How was the Odell experience this year for you?
Horrible.
For me? Or for Todd?
For you. No, for you, Nate. I know how Todd went.
Odell was awesome. I took it on up there, and I got every bit of knowledge I needed from Todd to do exactly what I did up there. He gave me all the tools I needed knowledge-wise to do what I did up there, and we were very successful. I took certain things a little different that he told me, and I expanded on what he taught me, and I kind of took it to my own level, and it worked out for me this year. It was great. It's become my favorite. It's become my favorite fishery of the year, and I've only done it for a season.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
I got to give it to you. And I've said it before. In private, we spend a lot of time together. But honestly, man, I couldn't be any happier for you to take that knowledge and then put your twist to it to do what you did up there this year. Truly impressive. And I've never boated 3 fish over 30 pounds in one season. I've never been able to attain that. And you did that this year. And so well done. And it's well deserved. I mean, nobody handed you anything other than just what we do. And then you made it your own. And yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to be a part of and to see. You reached that level up there after 1 year. I'm really excited to see me beat you really, really bad next year. But the future, we'll worry about that later.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that later. I'm sure there might be a wager involved this year.
Oh yeah. But no, in all honesty, I mean, was impressive and well done. I mean,
thank you.
The attention to detail that you have it really shows, because that fishery is very detail specific. I mean, it's all the little. I mean, there's so many little bitty things that we do that you would never pick up on unless we explained it to you what we're doing, and it worked. So my hat's off to you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, it honestly came down to a family thing, going out when I wasn't working. That's what it came down to, was being able to go out, taking the time to go out every day,
right,
when I wasn't working, and figure things out that I already knew but I hadn't put into play yet, and it helped me out a lot this year. Absolutely.
That reconnaissance pays off a ton of just going out and trying that different stuff. On a guided day, you got to get fish. You don't have to, but you got to get some fish. And so you go to what you know. We tried a number of different baits this year that we just couldn't get to produce. And it's, when you look at them, you think, oh my God, this is going to kill it. And they just spook away from it. And, it's for whatever reason, it's not the right color or the right profile. But man, there was a couple of those jigs. It was, you go from 7 fish on your screen to drop that baby in 40 feet and not a fish there. And it doesn't take very long before you're like, that's literally $100 some odd. It's never going to get wet again. But we're always trying to up our game up there. And so it's frustrating at times, but
oh yeah,
it definitely, and it's not, when Nate was catching those fish, it wasn't like he was holding no secrets. He told us every day we all know where we fish, and it was, for whatever reason, it works for him. But you see that in a couple different spots, like, the 120, the holes that we have named for, you call the 120 flat. Oh, we got a visitor.
There we go.
And so that place, I kill it. You go, Alex has a spot, I won't fish it because I can't catch fish there like he does. Nate goes and catches fish in all of our spots. And so it works. I mean, it was fun. That competition that we have every day, it's just fun. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable to have that competition between us, the guides. Makes for great fire talk while we're eating home cooked food that Josie makes for us. So.
That camaraderie is a huge part of everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're the guides or you're somebody that goes out on the river every day. That's just a regular recreational angler. You make friends with those people that are out on the river, and that camaraderie is huge. And then being able to have those little competitions, we're all selfish in some ways, but you're going to cheer on your friends no matter what. So it's a huge part of everything.
Yeah. There was plenty of days up there this year that, especially in the start, that I was humbled like I've never been humbled before by Todd and Alex, where I was going, what am I doing wrong? I was trying to figure it out, and I don't know what's going on my screen, but it ain't good.
You're good.
You guys still see me?
Yep.
Oh, I got you now. So yeah, there was plenty of days where it was pretty humbling what they were doing to me out there. It was like, and I'd pull up my boat next to theirs, and I couldn't get a bite, and they're just coming over the rails with them. It was a learning curve up there for quite a while, and I'm sure it will continue to be. But
and this year the fishery changed quite a bit. When you came up and run my boat last year for the couple days that you did, this year it was just, man, getting them to the boat was really, really hard this year.
Yeah, it was tough.
I'll let it out right now. Garlic. You can't have enough garlic scent in your boat. I'll tell you that right now. Hands down.
I told you.
Yep. But yeah, it's
fresh,
I would have to say,
fresh minced. You can't get the stuff from Sportsman's. Gotta be fresh minced.
So is that really one of the secrets? Was fresh minced garlic?
No.
Or is that an inside joke?
Yeah, we tried garlic one time, and it was such a hard no. You will never see garlic anything in my boat on that fishery.
Really?
Yeah.
So what, you were watching the fish on the screen just scatter when you drop something down there?
Yeah, and I mean, like 60 feet scatter. Come up and look at it, get 60 feet and run away from it. So it was the day I was filming with Cody on the Day One Outdoor show on that day. I mean, it was a hard no. I'm not ever putting garlic in my boat after that. But
going into it, he told me that. I knew that. So that was the inside joke, was when I would do really good, it was garlic. So that was an inside joke there.
Well, and it's an inside joke with us, but he would holler it from boat to boat. And so all my guys are like, hey, you got any garlic in here? I'm like, no, we're not putting garlic on anything. And they're like, but he's catching them. He ain't using garlic.
I had him asking me after hours if it was true or not. It was good. I had him going for at least 3 weeks.
He had me almost believe. I thought, man, I might try it. And then I was like, I ain't doing it. I said, I'm not doing it. So it might very well be garlic. He might be giving me the old tuna. And but I doubt it.
No, it was nothing of the sort. It was just fishing.
It was.
That was the bottom line.
Yep.
Like I said, Todd gave me all the tools I needed to do what I did. So
That's awesome.
My hat's off to Todd for opening up to me as a guy coming in to fish what he fishes and where he fishes. My hat's off to him for giving me the tips and knowledge that I needed to do what I did this year. It was awesome. It was fun. It was awesome. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's great. Anyone out there that hasn't done it before should experience it. It's pretty cool.
Good time.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see what you guys can do next year now that you've got that full year experience under your belt.
Yeah.
I think from what I've seen this year, I think you're going to see bigger fish next year. Those, as the season went on this year, you've seen those fish getting healthier. And that's really probably the first time that we've seen them get healthier as the season progresses. Man, I hooked 15 pounders this year. In years past, just by how they fought, you're fighting this fish for 10 minutes, and you can't do anything with him. You can't pick him up. He just does whatever he wants. And I would have lost money on that's a 30-pound fish, and he'll come up at 15, and you're like, my God. And so it's neat to see that fishery being as healthy as it is right now with the numbers. Absolutely.
Yep, definitely.
Now, Nate,
so I think bigger.
Are you fishing locally right now, or I think I heard that you're hunting. So you're probably not on the river?
I have not been on the river for a couple weeks. It's fixing to get pretty busy for me because I've got the hunting thing going on, trying to fill my freezer, and then I've got clients coming in for some fishing too. So I've got to get in gear to go scouting for some fall salmon fishing down towards the Grants Pass area. And if the fire doesn't move any further, I should be able to make my normal drift and do pretty good. But I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now with hunting and fishing. It's always this way this time of year. But it's
that fire. So you can only fish down to Robertson right now, or not even down that far.
You have to take out, from what I heard this morning, you got to take out at Robertson Bridge. You can't go any further. That's what I heard and what I read is Robertson Bridge is the furthest down, and next on the list is we'll be taken out at Finley Bend, I guess. So
oh yeah,
we'll see just how short the runs get. It's really unfortunate for what's going on down there. It's hopefully they get things under control. There's a lot of homes in between Robertson Bridge and Finley Bend, so hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But
right,
yeah. Not only that, hopefully the smoke blows the other way.
Yeah.
That there ain't. You can only handle so much of that stuff, especially that close. But
and that's kind of hurt us before. That unbelievable smoke up in Shady Cove there a couple of years back, where you'd had a hard time seeing the bank.
Yeah.
People, it's just not enjoyable to be in. It doesn't matter how many fish you get. People don't want to breathe that stuff, for 8 hours.
No, exactly.
I don't want to row a boat and having to breathe that smoke in either. So you can't really blame people for not wanting to get out or move them out to where it's a little bit clearer.
Yeah. Nope. It affects everything when it comes to this fire season.
Yeah.
We've had it pretty fortunate this year. We've been in pretty good shape, but previous years, you look at it and it affects not just us, all the businesses around us. It's a big impact.
How'd you do? Did you have a trip up at Lost Creek here not too long ago?
I did. I had a trip at Lost Creek.
How was that fishing up? I haven't been up there for a long time. How was it? Is it still pretty good?
Yeah, the lake was fuller in elevation than normal. So we started off trout fishing, and I don't know, we we caught and released a ton of trout. I mean, we probably had 30, 35 trout by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And we were doing a lot of catch and release. They were keeping some of the better quality fish, and then we cruised upriver and we went to do some bass fishing, and it was not like it should have been up there.
Got you.
It was pretty slow up there for bass. So we actually rigged up basically a side drifting rig, and we got kind of in the mild current where it was coming in, and we were pitching them out and kind of just drifting through little 1-ball slinkies, 2-ball slinkies, and we were catching a handful of really nice trout right there in the headwaters, and that was good. And then we cruised back to the main lake and pulled into a cove and caught a bunch of bluegill and some bass, and so yeah, it was a great day. There is tons of fish to be caught up there right now.
Did you troll it all out in the main part of the lake?
Was I what?
Did you troll it all out in the main part of the lake, running downriggers or anything, or did you just?
I was running downriggers the whole time, and I was running 35 to 40 foot, and I was running shuttle hawks at 20 foot with the other rods, and it was one rod 90% of the time. Don't know why, don't know what the deal was, but it was one rod the whole day. They kept going off, so they were taking turns on that one rod. So after about 8 or 10 fish, I switched it all up. I put the same dodger, same hoochie, tipped with a little night crawler on every other rod, same exact setup, and it was still the same rod going off. So answer that one for me.
It's funny how that happens sometimes.
I'm still kokanee fishing up here, up on in the Cascade Lakes, and it's one rod holder. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, and I rotate. It's the same thing, same dodger, same hoochie, same setback, everything exactly the same. And I can rotate rods, and it will be that one rod holder. I don't know if it's just moving right there, but I can't explain it either. And so today, again, everybody rotated pretty much off of that one rod. They all got their limits, but yeah, it don't make any sense.
It's a weird deal, isn't it? It's
Yep.
weird. You can't explain it.
Nope.
Can't explain it.
Nope.
Yeah. Other than the fact that maybe the Dodgers are like a plug. I don't know. Throw that one away. I don't know. I don't know.
Could be, probably, right?
Could be, but I look at, when I first put it in the water before they drop it down, I watch it to make sure everything's running good. And
yeah,
to my eye, it looks the same, but obviously to the fish's eye, something's different. Something's
different. Yeah, it's a weird deal. I honestly wanted to throw every other Dodger away after that day. I just wanted to toss them because.
What Dodger were you running?
Oh,
the Arrow Flash?
Yeah, they were all Arrow Flash, but I think the one that was working that day was the rainbow colored Dodger that we never catch fish on.
The one with the snake on it?
Yeah, the one with the snake on it.
Dude, I love that Dodger. It's one of my favorite Dodgers. I'm not kidding you a bit. I'll bet you they're still on my kokanee rods from Odell in the garage. I'll bet you. It wasn't like lights out. I mean, it wasn't like the pink and silver one, but I caught a couple fish.
That one never got bit. The pink and silver never got bit for me up there
at Lost Creek.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I switched everything a couple times to see what it was, and then I ended up switching them all to that same rainbow one, and it was still the same rod. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, I don't. It don't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, weird. But yeah, the bass fishing is not what it should have been when I was up there.
Right.
And I mean, the lake was still up quite a bit from what it normally is, and I wasn't fishing the way we could have fished with more experienced fishermen. So it was a little bit of that had something to do with it, but there's a lot of stumps when that lake's up that high. There's a lot of stumps in there, and
Oh,
you try to get something down into those fish, and they're hung up 90% of the time. So it's tough. Makes it tough.
yeah. No, I agree. It does.
But you give me a slinky and a side drifting setup, and we'll catch fish.
You just can't help it.
Just
Even
go
in the
side
lake,
drifting wherever you're at.
That's right.
you'd be side drifting for Lakers in no time.
Not that deep.
Just throw on like a 20-ball slinky, and you'll probably call it good.
Yeah. Find a little underwater current, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting for the fall run this year in Grants Pass area? I know there's been a bunch of fish down there in Gold Beach. You think they're going to be making it up this way?
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of them here already. Like I said, I've been busy into the hunting thing, but I should probably be prospecting right now a little bit. I got some trips coming up, and I need to get out there for sure. But yeah, judging by the numbers they're catching down there, it should be pretty good. Should be pretty good. But it's a short deal down there. It's not a long season for the Grants Pass thing. From what I've judged and what I've seen in the last 3-4 years doing it, you got 3 weeks of good fishing, and then you may as well call it. I mean, you can go later, right before it closes down there. You're gonna catch fish. You're not gonna want to kill them. There's a lot of guys that do, but they're all fish that are staged up, getting ready to spawn. So what I've done is same thing. I pick and choose who I take when I take them down there, and it's a short deal. It's pretty short deal, and a lot of those fish are colored up. They don't look great. They still cut good, but I've went to same thing with adults down there as I went to from Dodge Bridge down. When that opens, I'll let you kill one a day. There is no reason to wipe that population out. Let them spawn. Let them go to where they're going, do their thing. They're already beat up. They're already, it goes back to where the regulations say one thing, and what we know being out there every day is a totally different thing. And I used to be that guy that would kill everything for my clients, and I noticed a difference, especially from Dodge Bridge down. We're killing 2 per person a day in there, and they're nice fish. But if you get 10, 12 boats in there doing the same thing every day for a month, that's putting a hurting on them. That's same thing for Gold Beach. And I'll take some rap over this, but
I love it.
those guys down there that are killing 2 fish per person in a power boat, and they got 6 people in the boat. You don't think that's hurting the population of fish? Yeah, it's a resource that's there for us, but sometimes you might want to consider taking things into your own hands, even though you're allowed to do something different.
Yeah,
I think it's worth having a conversation over. I know your policies, and I agree with them 100%. It's that balance. We all got to make a living, but at the same time, we don't. I tell my guests a lot, because people want their limit, right? They don't. That limit could be 1, it could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 5. It doesn't matter. They just want their limit. And once you have that education talk of, I get it. Everybody wants to romanticize the idea that we live in a subsistence way of life. I would say Nate is probably still one of the only ones that I know that still lives a subsistence way of life. He's grown his own beef, his own pork, his own chickens, hunting, he kills his deer now. The rest of us, if I'm hungry, I go to the store, just like 99% of us do. That's just the reality of the majority of people. And so, I agree. It's 1 salmon a day. That's going to feed a family for, 4 nights. That's that's a lot of food. I don't know, and target hatchery fish after that. I mean, there's nothing. Like I said, I'm up for starting a conversation of just let's talk about it. Maybe I'm not looking at it the right way. It's just my opinion. So
Yeah.
So Nate,
Yeah, I mean, what do
you went to one wild fish a day from Dodge to Tuville in your
Yep.
boat. So I've been
There's
going.
times now there's times when a fish is hooked deep, fish is bleeding, I'm going to kill that fish. But aside from that, if the fish is good to go, we're going to let that fish go. As soon as they kill their one salmon per person, then we're side drifting for steelhead, or we're steelhead fishing after that. And on a typical year, they're going to get a salmon and a steelhead.
So I've been going over a lot of the data recently, like the gold ray counts, hatchery counts, and stuff like that. One thing I noticed is that the fall fish, historically, especially before Lost Creek Dam went in, never really made it above gold ray. The water was too warm. Those fall fish usually wouldn't migrate upriver till late September, October.
Yep.
So that fishery is kind of a new thing since Lost Creek went in. But you're still going to that one wild fish a day. So, I mean, what's your reasoning for that?
Well, my reasoning for that is because we were down there whacking them 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we were tagging out. We were staying in the one hole, and we were beating on them. I mean, 2 or 3 boats were in there just smacking them every day for 30 days. We were killing our 4 fish, 5 fish, 6 fish if I'd get in on it. And I started doing the math. And, I was going, it is a different run. It's not, those aren't spring salmon. They're not fall salmon. It's like a wild summer run of salmon that we have down there. It's not.
I've always said that.
I don't call them spring. It is, yeah. It's a totally different run of salmon. We have a spring run, which is early, May 15th. I used to start fishing for them on the top with clients. You can catch them earlier, but May 15th is when I'd start fishing for them up there, and they were mostly hatchery fish. You catch some wild fish too, but then you got into the later part of April, and you started catching some wild springers and this and that, mixed with some hatchery fish. And then mid-June, you get down lower on the river. If you move down river, you get into this giant run of wild fish that goes through July and through August. And they're 100% not fall fish. They're just not from Dodge Bridge to Tuville or Fisher Ferry. And it's not a huge run of fish. There's a good population, but that's why I went to the policy I went to on 1 per person per day, is because I realized that is a total different run of fish we're getting. And there's no reason to kill that many. If you got a person that's going to eat that much salmon, 90% of the time, that much salmon is going to get freezer burned before they even eat it.
Absolutely.
Unless you know how to process it and you can it, or you smoke it and freeze it, vacuum seal it, whatnot. They're going to put it in Ziplocs, or they're going to put it in a vacuum sealer, and they're going to put it in their freezer, and they're going to forget about it, and it's just going to go to waste. So my clientele, they know when they get in my boat that this is the deal. We're gonna kill a couple salmon if we're lucky enough to catch them, and then we're gonna go try to catch you a couple steelhead, hatchery fish, because we pay for those to be raised. We may as well kill those, and you can take those home and eat them. Same thing. Most of it's probably gonna go to waste. It's gonna sit in the freezer, get freezer burned. I've been guilty of that in the past. Now I can them, because I know I'm not going to go through that many salmon or steelhead fillets for dinner. I may as well can it so we can grab a can off the shelf when we're going hunting or fishing. We can grab a can. It's good for a couple years on the shelf, and that's a good way to go about preserving your meat. But the other thing, going right back to that, there's a few rivers in Oregon that we can kill wild steelhead on. The Rogue's one of them. It doesn't make it right. That's for darn sure. It's my clientele when they get in the boat. I mean, I've had confrontations about this with other guides, and I've let them know how I felt about it, and they can take it however they want to take it. Same with the other anglers out there that are whacking wild steelhead on the Rogue River. Look at the numbers. Why are we doing this? Because they say we can, or because you want to picture that dead wild steelhead for your Facebook or Instagram post? What's the reality of why we're killing this fish that has, the potential of raising 2,700 to 3,200 babies with a 2% survival rate or whatever it is? If we can get people on board on that, and then it just keeps going. It goes right from there to where it comes from. They're allowing us to kill them. Doesn't make it right. Okay, so the guys that understand it's not right don't do it, which upsets you when you see somebody that is doing it, and you bite your tongue, but then you see the population keep going down, down, down. So then it goes all the way up the ladder to where it comes from, and that's a whole nother conversation of where do we go from there?
Well, I think one of the we just talked about this with some of my guests that I was fishing up here, that used to fish the Klamath River. And he asked me, what happened? I said, what? The egg hunt? He goes, what? You don't remember back in the day, all the guides and everybody go down there and just kill every hen they could because they were easy to catch? Yep. And now look at that run.
Oh, yeah.
There's a debt to be paid for killing these fish that we're going to see. It's not going to be tomorrow, but little by little, every year, you're going to start to see it get worse and worse and worse. That's what I personally believe.
Oh, me too.
It's that egg hunt day. It just has that same feel to me of, to get a picture, get a replica made. I don't know. That's what I worry about is the Klamath, because I never got to fish the Klamath River when it was in the egg hunt days. And everybody said it was nothing to catch 20 or 30 fish a day.
Yeah.
And we all did it not understanding, like Nate already said, I've done the same thing, killing all the fish that I could. And then you realize, that's why we went to 100% catch and release on the lake trout. We've learned from those mistakes, and we just have to know that the bad's coming. It's just, it's not right now.
So do you guys think, as sportsmen, with mainly talking about salmon and steelhead, do you think we actually have a big enough impact on the run that we're actually affecting things rather than just say it's ocean conditions or the freshwater habitat or river temp or whatever it is?
I think 100%. We all own percentage of the problem. I don't think it's just one group. I think it's sport fishing, ocean conditions, predators, small mortality. I definitely believe that we own a portion of what is wrong. With the retention that we do.
100%. Just because they tell you can kill that many doesn't mean you should. And I am no purist by any means, but I'm telling you right now, I've seen the impact, especially from Dodge Bridge down. For years we killed our limit, stayed in one hole, killed our limit, and I can see it.
So,
sure.
Just to play devil's advocate here, one thing I study a lot is the river flows and river temps. And so that Dodge Bridge run has really benefited from Lost Creek. It's those the higher flows, cooler temps during the summer has brought those fish up higher in the river than they used to. 2000, I think it was like 2012 to 2015 was favorable ocean conditions. So, combine that with Lost Creek, we saw pretty good returns above gold ray of those summer run, I would actually call them rather than fall fish, but ODFW classifies them as fall fish. And then starting in 2015, we went into that, really earlier, but 2015 was when you would start watching the river temps down at Agnes, and it'd be 80 degrees. Those fish that are moving up in July and August are dying. Pretty much all of them. They've got those few cold water sanctuaries, but they're all dying before they ever got upriver.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if the theory plays out now that we've got some high water this year, in the next couple years, combined it with the good ocean conditions, I would imagine that we're going to see some pretty good returns again. And that I just don't know how much of a percent of those, especially salmon, what percent of those fish are actually biting when they're in the river. You know, if there's 100 fish in that hole, you could get 5 of them to bite. And so you're talking 95% of the fish are surviving. So what I mean, to me, as the devil's advocate here, it's more to do with those river temps, the ocean conditions. Just because as sports fishermen, we're not going to get over 50% of those fish to bite, no matter how good a fisherman you are.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that because I seen plenty of them jump right past my boat this year. But at the same time, I will argue the fact that there might be 2,000 fish on that little summer run getting past us to their natural spawning grounds in between, say, Tuvale and Takelma, or Tuvale and Shady Cove. There might be a couple thousand, which you and I both know back in the day we could have walked across them. So I don't think there was still a dam there when I was a kid. So I don't know that river temperature has as much to do with the fact that everybody has gotten so good at catching them, like Gold Beach. I mean, you do the math in your head or on a computer or calculator right now with 150 boats out there, 100 boats. Just say they catch 4 or 3 per boat a day, which is probably close to an average 2 per day on a good day per boat. That's a ton of fish. And they've got 4 to 6 people in their boat, and a lot of times they're catching 6 a day or 12 a day. It's a huge number between the fishermen, the sea lions, and the commercial fishing. It is out of our control at this point. It's so beyond repair that it's not even funny.
Well, I think there's a portion of that is viable. You look at the electronics, everybody's starting to use live scope down there, so they can see those fish 40 feet each side of the boat, so they know exactly where they're. I mean, I would. I mean, we use electronics to. I mean, hey, and so I definitely think people have gotten better at catching them. Absolutely, just with technology and the gear. I mean, it's so. I don't know the impact that the sport fishery has, by the percentage, but yeah, it's the water temperature. I can see that happening, but that's why we have Cox is, I mean, we're all going off of what we see every day. And it's our, we all believe what we believe because of our personal experience. Your life experience teaches you what to think and what to believe. And that's what I like about the discussion is who am I to deny either one of you your life experience? I'm nobody. And so you got to have the conversation of, you got to start it somewhere. And unfortunately you got to start it with triggering somebody before they'll sit down and have an intelligent conversation with you about it. I seen the post that you did, not too long ago, Stephen, about numbers and the years. And I read, I think 10 comments and then I just didn't read anymore. I think a lot of people have their understanding of what it is, and they're not willing to change that understanding, no matter what information is out there. Teach me different. That's just kind of how I look at everything. I'm not right on a lot of levels, but we got to have the conversation. I mean, there's a lot at play on that run that Nate's talking about that goes to damage of reds. When they're trying to spawn, what's the river look like when that's happening? It's a bigger impact. It's gotta do something. But
so do you guys think, I mean, with
Now
so
you
that,
open a new can of worms.
yeah. So that run, that summer run, is kind of a new thing since Lost Creek went in. So technically, it's not really a native run to the Rogue River. Do you think it's worth preserving?
Absolutely.
How do we know it's not a native run? How do we know that those aren't fish that were spawning down there before the building of Lost Creek?
Well, so just by Gold Ray numbers, so the number of fish, I think they count springers as like August 1st and before, or something like that. And so if you look at the Gold Ray numbers after August 1st, the number of Chinook salmon that were crossing the dam started skyrocketing in like the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. And so, I mean, you can see that number after a certain date started increasing. And so prior to 1973 or whatever, there was basically no salmon that crossed Gold Ray after August 1st.
Okay.
That's weird. That
So
definitely think, a different dynamic at it.
Yeah, and so I mean,
you don't think those were Gold Hill fish possibly that after the dam was removed started moving upriver because the water was cooler or warmer or whatever? You don't think that was
100%? I mean, that's putting Lost Creek in. It drew those fish up. It created that suitable habitat for them during the summer to move through. Because prior to Lost Creek Dam, during July, August, September, if there was no rain, that water was 80 degrees, which is uninhabitable to salmon. So there was no summer run of salmon. They had to wait for those fall rains, just like all the other coastal rivers.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to the old timers that fished before the dam went in, and you had to wait till late September, October for that first rain or the weather to cool down, and then you'd get this huge push of fall salmon upriver. But before then, the river was basically void of salmon between the spring and fall run.
Yeah. And so since the dam got put in, I mean, just from looking at fish in general, whether it's a salmon or steelhead, those fish know on those coastal rivers, if the river is dropping, they dump and run. They're doing their thing quick. Do you think that's kind of the same thing after the dam on the road, where those fish have adapted to know to come out of the Gold Hill area and just get up there, and that's what created that new run of fish?
I mean, yeah, I
I
think they've kind of evolved. I mean, you can watch the evolution taking place.
They had to.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, because you get fish, especially with salmon and steelhead, fish stray no matter what.
Yeah.
And so if a fish finds a river to be hospitable, they're going to move in there. And so I think that's actually a big part of ODF's management is that fall run is kind of a newer run, and they're taking over some of that spawning ground and digging up the reds of the springers. And so they necessarily don't care about that fall summer run. They'd rather have it just be a spring run. So they would rather, I mean, I don't know if it's for sure or not, but they would rather have you harvest those fish and not spawn on top of the springers.
No, and I think that's a good point that they need to focus on is they don't care about that little run that is such an important run. In my opinion, for our river system, that's the ones we fish for after July 1st. They know they're there, but they don't care about them. It doesn't seem like. So they, in my opinion, they should make that a one fish a day fishery, and they should probably focus on taking care of those fish. Because if we didn't have those fish, then what do we got from, say, July 1st on? July to September. We got nothing, right?
Right.
So that might be something they should look into protecting a little better than they do, because it wasn't in their original plan to have this run of salmon right in the middle of everything else going on. It's not something that they're not out there every day. They don't consider it a summer run, which we all know it's a summer run of salmon. It's a totally different run. We know that. They don't know that, and they won't acknowledge that if you talk to them. So there's got to be a way to talk to them about it. That run, in my opinion, needs protected in some sort of way.
You think it's worth protecting that opportunity? That
Lost
Creek
of course.
It may not be a native wild run, but we've created this new run, and it's worth protecting the opportunity.
I
Absolutely.
disagree. I think 100% it is a native wild run that's evolved a little bit, and and found new places to spawn. I don't think those are hatchery fish. Not a minute. I don't think they're hatchery fish.
No.
There's no way. So I do believe those are a native run salmon right there. I 100% believe that, judging by looking at their color, looking at them where they're trying to spawn, like right now. They're not going very far upriver. I think those are fish that used to spawn down lower and they came up for the colder water. I firmly believe that, for sure. Those fish that we're catching after July 1st, they don't make it just a couple. I mean, some of them make it to Shady Cove, but not the majority of them. No way. If they did, when we went through their spawn grounds, there'd be 5,000 fish in there every season. Those fish are spawning to Kelma area. They're not going up past Shady Cove very often. I guarantee you.
No.
Those are a native run fish that have evolved and made that their new spawning grounds is down in that Dodge to Kelma area, is what I believe. But that's just my thoughts. Seeing what I've seen. I mean, if that wasn't the case, like I said, as many fish as I see go by my boat in Salmon Alley, there would have been thousands on the flat above Shady Cove. What's that?
You didn't just say it.
What, Salmon Alley?
He said it.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have
if you float Dodge to Tuba, you're going to see Nate in Salmon Alley.
Oh yeah, you got to get up at 3 a.m. to beat me there.
It is wild run, but I think due to our impact with the dams, Mother Nature's resilient, and it's just a testament to how resilient she is. It's just she needs a little help, and you have a run that made better because of the dam and the situation that we imposed on them. So why would, even though it's not a typical returning run of salmon to the Rogue River, why? We've already done the damage, so now we need to mitigate doing more damage, because we're not going back to wild runs, and every run needs help. And so that's why I don't know if Fishing Game's doing it or they don't care. I would like to, I'll reserve that for a talk with a biologist to educate me a little bit more on that aspect of it. I don't
hold a Dan Van Dyke.
I don't want to get into that debate. But I mean, we forced them to do that with our impact. Why not? Why try to eradicate them because they did something because of what we did? I don't, that's where there's a balance, I think every run's worth protecting. You can't, look at Wikia. It's, they decimated that fishery to save a frog. So how many species are we willing to decimate to save one species?
You see it on the Deschutes too. I don't know. It was, I want to say around 2010, but I might be wrong. I haven't studied the Deschutes very much. But I know that they switched from doing a cold water release out of their dams like we do here with Lost Creek to trying to make that river more natural to its old state. And it's completely wiped out a lot of that summer run steelhead, a lot of their spring Chinook. I mean, they don't get the runs like they used to because they wanted to manage it for what it used to be like before the dams. But how do you do that when we put in a dam? I mean, nature is not what it used to be 100 years ago. We've got populations here in Oregon that have probably at least 10 times the population. So, I mean, why would you try and manage something that for what it used to be like 100 years ago versus what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, we have this talk, I hate to keep going back to Odell, but it's the talk there, everybody tells us you got to kill those Mackinaw, the kokanee are suffering. Those Mackinaw were put in there in 1930 the first time. If those Mackinaw were going to wipe out the kokanee, don't you think they would have done it by now? That's not the problem. 30 a day per person is a big problem. It's not, but I'll say it again. We live in a society of pulling the rope. I'm in the life raft. Nobody complains about logging while their house is being built. And we find the same thing in our fisheries. We did the damage. Now we just need to mitigate that damage to make more opportunity for everybody. I mean, like Nate said, we're fishing salmon, or now from well, when you were still guiding, Stephen, April to the end of August. I mean, that's a long time to be catching salmon in a river, which is great. That's a great opportunity for sportsmen. And so, to decimate that summer run, all you're going to do is cut off a couple months of 2 months of salmon fishing. So revenue, it makes sense for revenue, opportunity, people enjoying the resource. That's the other talk that I don't like is everybody complaining about how many people are fishing. Really? As sportsmen, we're going to complain about how many people are fishing? It's literally get the more people out there doing it that we can.
It was, it was busier back in the 80s. I just read one of the ODFW reports from the Rogue, and there used to be an average of like 160 boats on the upper Rogue from the hatchery down to Tubo every day. 160 boats a day. You don't see 160 boats on the river in like a week anymore.
No. Slaughter day is about the only day that you see where you can't get away from 4 drift boats in a hole. But that's what it used to be every day. And I'll bet you there's still not 160 boats on the upper river, even on slaughter day.
No.
And so that is a ton of impact.
Oh yeah. No, it's going the wrong direction for sure on the way of thinking.
So what do you guys think about like opportunity wise? Because like if you're just an average fisherman, if you're going out, you only get a couple times a day. Would you rather be able to harvest those couple fish versus only one? I mean, how do you balance that? Because I've talked with a few people and they don't get out springer fishing anymore just because they know they don't get out. They're not the best fishermen. Their opportunities are low. And now they got like a 25% chance when they do land a fish of it being a hatchery fish. And it's just not worth it to them. So how do you balance that opportunity versus the limits for people, I guess?
I'll go first on this one. I think it's because people forgot what fishing is about. Fishing is about being in the outdoors. Is a successful day harvest, or is a successful day being out in Mother Nature doing what you enjoy? For me personally, I love fishing. I had we were talking to Nate last week. It's when you ask, what do we look at when we go fishing? We don't. I don't look at moon phase. I don't look at water temperature. I don't look at anything. I'm just going fishing. And we've gotten away from that mentality in society of the end game is just doing it. If we catch a fish, great. I mean, we're all great fishermen. People are focused on the wrong aspect of what it is. It's not just killing fish. To me personally, I love fishing, the camaraderie, it's just a way to hang out, with your friends in an unstressed environment.
I do not disagree with the thing Todd said. For me, my thoughts on that, it really depends on the person. There's guys that like to go up there and just catch fish. There are guys like that they don't even care about killing them. They just want to go catch them.
Yeah.
And if you go up, to begin with, the license fees and everything are going up so much every year. It's an expensive hobby. From when we were kids, it's probably 5 or 6 times more now than it used to be just to get a fishing license. And that's not even including going to the store and buying what you need to actually catch fish nowadays, because the lack of fish compared to what it was. So it's, you know, yeah, it is awesome to go out there if you have the mentality that you're just going to go out there and fish. And there's certain guys like Todd and I, and probably yourself, Steven, that just go out there to fish. You don't care if you're going to catch one, but there are a lot of guys out there that they are going to go out there expecting to catch a fish. And if they're dialed in and they spend all this money and there's not fish to catch, then that's where everybody gets pissed off at ODFW for lack of fish, blah blah blah. That's where we're hearing all this talk about there's no fish. Well, there's fish. There's just not fish like there used to be. And the bad part is ODFW is getting, the hatchery. Take the fish hatchery, for example. They're getting the brunt of everything. The fish hatchery is doing exactly what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
It's owned by the Army Corps of Engineers. There is literally nothing the hatchery workers can do to make our fishery better. There's nothing they can do. It's completely out of their hands, and they take every bit of the brunt for it, which isn't right. So there's guys that need exposed and guys that need talked to about that rather than the hatchery workers. There's thousands of anglers out here that up in arms towards the hatchery. It's literally has nothing to do with the workers or management at the hatchery. Nothing.
Well, I want to jump in here, and people saying that, the same guy that says there's no fish here refuses just to go fishing and hone his skill to have the level of success to be able to catch these fish. They want to, they hear a talk from their grandpa. We all grew up fishing, from as little as we were when we started, which is, young. And so by not just going fishing and honing your technique and understanding where you're casting, how your bait's reacting to that cast, you're not going to go down. I'm not saying you're not going to go down there and hammer one with, no technique, but you have to go do it to have the technique. Up here at the lake the other day, I've been limiting out all my guys on kokanee every day except for 2. And on both of those days, it's unfamiliarity with the gear. Even with all the coaching that we do, it's the instant gratification. How come I lost that one? We need to slow down a little bit. Well, I wasn't reeling that fast. Pay attention to what just because you hire a guide, there still comes a point to where it's up to you to land that fish. And even from the bank, it's harder because you don't have that constant coaching in your ear of what you're doing. And so I put a lot of that back on the fishermen of not spending the time. I don't care how many YouTube channels you watch, and until you get a rod in your hand and do it, you're not going to understand what all of this stuff means. And so I put a little bit back on them of go fishing, understand what your bait's doing, and talk to people. You see a guy catching fish. There's not very many people that I've ever met on the bank when I was a bank fisherman. As long as you're respectful and started a conversation, those guys, everybody I know will help you out. They'll get you pointed in the right direction, and they'll tell you, yeah, as soon as your bait hits the water, you need to close that bail. Guys think 4 seconds to close the bail. Well, I closed it. No, now you got a big belly in your line. Not a big belly, but a 3-foot belly. That's going to rip you through the water faster than if you didn't have it. Understanding that stuff. And we all learned it by doing it. That's how we all learned it, right? As we went out and did it. Don't do that no more. Or, that worked. And then pick up on those cues of what worked.
Yeah. Now that plays a huge role in it, but even that aside, the numbers don't lie.
Oh no,
we're not where we should. We're not where we should be.
No,
when you and I can get in the same boat, and not go catch a fish, that's not good.
Yeah.
I'm not straying away from that.
But at least they were jumping all around us, so we knew.
Oh yeah, yeah. The run of fish that aren't supposed to be there apparently.
And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. You know, for me and you to be in a boat and not catch, you know, me and you fishing and rowing,
Yeah.
And not catch, you know, we didn't touch a fish that day. But
I did.
Well, yeah. But in our defense, you know, I mean, there's a lot of techniques and ways we want to fish our way. You know, we never even put a plug in the water.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to fish that way.
Yeah.
But not because it's not fun. It's just not for us. You know.
Yeah.
So.
But I still want to stick to numbers. I mean, we were having a record summer steelhead return. Where'd that go?
To the hatchery.
I don't see 3,000 or 4,000 right now. They came quick, and there was a lot quick. But where'd it go? There's what?
I think
30 or 40 every update I get. Not many. It came and it petered off, and it is. I mean, it was a big talk for a while, and it's not there anymore. There's fish there, but it's not. It is not what the Mail Tribune was trying to make it out to be, or anybody else. It was happening for a little bit. And now where's all the talk? Where is it? Where's the fish? What's going on? I mean,
again, to play devil's advocate here, it's river temps.
Oh, yeah.
Because you look at Agnes again, as soon as it gets above 71, 72 degrees down there for the full day, those fish aren't moving upriver. You know, I mean, back when I was guiding, you'd always see that die off. It'd be great up until mid-July. Then you'd get the warm weather. Then the steelhead fishing would die off until you got like a thunderstorm or something to cool the water down. But it'll be interesting this year to see, because we've had a couple of those cool-offs, which have brought some of those fall salmon up, and see if there's
but how many CFS are they dumping right now?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's like 2,400 or something like that.
Exactly. More than normal this time of year. Tell me that
Right.
water's hot up here.
Yeah. But, so, I mean, the interesting thing is going to be, is there a whole bunch of steelhead in with this shot of salmon, or that should be hitting your area, like
Yep, there
today, tomorrow?
Nope.
But
I think
I mean,
there
and
is.
then like, so what then? Also, what happens with the second half of the summer steelhead run? Because you know the row gets an early run and a late run coming in September, October. So is that late run going to be just as good as the early run, or is there going to be no fish? Like, it's hard to say on that one yet.
It is.
I think
It's
there's
hard
more.
to say. Oh, they'll keep coming, but they're going to be trickling.
I think you're going to see another big push of steelhead coming in here in the next couple of weeks.
I hope so.
Well, I don't want to let too much out, but there was a number of fish being caught where typically they're not.
Yeah.
So I think there's another push coming. Comes from a very reliable source. You know, times 2, carry the 3, cut it in half. Even at that rate, it's still. I think we're going to see more but the wild variety, which is fantastic, because as many fish that went to that hatchery to not catch more wild fish than what we're catching, that scares me. It's every fish in that early season. You never heard of very many wild fish being caught. They were all hatchery fish. And so those wild fish there should be more wild fish in the river right now, with as many as returned to the hatchery that we're not seeing. That's what I don't like.
So what's your guys' take on the wild steelhead coming up, especially the ones that are going to spawn in the Tuville area? What's your take on that situation with jet boats down there? Several jet boats.
I think they play a part. They have to. I mean, you know, just jet boats in a river in general, you know, running over reds. It's got to play a part, right?
I would think so, especially the bigger ones with twin engines when the water gets lower.
Yeah.
My question would be, how long has the Hellgate boats been running down there in Grants Pass?
Long time.
And so,
Hellgate boats get shut down when it gets low.
Right. And so do the ones in the upper river not? Because I thought they kind of had an end to the season too. But
They were literally smashing gravel bars the last 2 years.
okay.
But I have no real world data to know if they get shut down over a water flow. I don't know that answer.
There was talk about it, but we never seen it happen. Not to mention what's your guys' take on fishing from Tuvale to Fisher's Ferry since the jet boats have been running down there?
I mean, so I think if you look at the data, you would probably see a drop in runs, but you're also going to see worse ocean conditions. And so you're going to see a drop everywhere on every river over that same time. And so it's hard to make that 100% correlation between it.
I'm strictly talking fishing conditions below Tuvale.
Oh, I mean, you get a lot.
Not fishing for fish. Fishing conditions. Can you go from Tuvale to Fisher's Ferry and effectively fish when those boats are running?
No, it's hard.
I can't. I can't.
I would make the same
do
argument.
I can't do it with a plug. I can't do it with a plug. I can't do it side drifting. Not to mention, I can't effectively make a drift when they're coming because I have to stop my boat and turn it sideways, bow forward into their wake so that I don't get swamped. So I'm sure there's a ton of guys out there that have experienced the same thing.
I would agree with you.
I'm just wondering if you guys have ever experienced that down there.
So those jet
boats. I would agree. I would agree with you 100%. The weeds after 10:30, the weeds are so bad you can't even side drift, and can't fish it. So yeah, I would agree with everything you said. It makes it unfishable.
And so that right there needs to be addressed to me as a fisherman, along with probably 99.9% of the fishermen that fish that stretch of the river. If they were watching right now, they would want to hear this, and they would probably want to chime in that something needs to be done about that because it's honestly bullshit. They took one of the greatest pieces of water for tourism for their boats, which is fine because the state allowed them to do it, but they also they completely ruined the best part in the summertime for a lot of us fishing guides. So, I mean, there's got to be some sort of a happy medium there. Not to mention the water filtration plant that's creating all the moss in the first place. They're part of the problem. They're the ones that are creating. Oh yeah, they're the ones creating all the moss that's plugging us up in the first place.
Right. So I would agree with you guys. I mean, the jet boats.
They got more nitrogen getting pumped in the river than they're supposed to.
100%. The jet boats are definitely causing a problem because when they're running over those weeds, they're ripping them out of the ground, which is causing problems for you when fishing.
Not to mention the reds they're running over.
100%. The issue is what I've seen is that there's actually more moss in that upper river as well. So we've got higher temps.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, like you said, we've got higher nitrogen.
You don't see the moss until you get to Tuvale, right below where the plant dumps in.
You see a lot of moss. You see a lot of moss in the springtime, in the spring run, when you hit the Shady Cove boat ramp down before you ever hit the jet boats.
And then you get to Dodge.
No, the weeds have gotten worse in Shady Cove as well.
Right, and so
then you get to Dodge and it clears up, and then you get to the poop plant and it gets bad again.
And so the jet boats are kind of like down that line, like they're causing a lot of problems. But a big issue to me is that you have, ever since the growing weed became legal, and now especially hemp, you've got a lot of those fertilizers in the river, especially like you see it from Trail Creek down is in what I've seen when I've been on the river. And
me too.
So you're not only having this warmer temps, you're having more nitrogen, more of that runoff from the all the farms, and so it's causing more weeds in the entire river. There was one year I saw you could barely run a plug from Dodge to Tuville because there was so much weeds in that stretch. That's a rare thing. It takes those low water years to actually make that happen. But the jet boats are just compounding that issue. You've got a whole bunch of issues, and it's just trickling down, and then the jet boats are just compounding on top of all these other things as well. So, I mean, you can't just blame the jet boats, but the jet boats are definitely
no, absolutely
an issue.
not.
No, it's the jet boats. It's the jet boats and the plant together.
Yeah.
Well, and the pod growers. I completely agree with
I can side drift every day. I can side drift every day from Dodge Bridge to Tuville. Not have a problem. For the last 4 years. You cannot do that from Tuville to Fishers.
No.
Not a single day. You can't do it a single day. So tell me that plant isn't having something to do with that.
No, they are. And it's you look at that last marijuana grow that the Jackson County, the task force busted, they over a million gallons of water they were taking illegally that should have ended up in our river. And so, the problem is great, and I think they're starting to get I don't think they're starting to get a handle on it. They're starting to understand how important it is to shut them illegal grows down, because they're literally just operating without any regulation and destroying the environment.
Yep. 100%.
And so, but I'm with Steven on this. When those grows all went in up there, I mean, you couldn't bug and bubble fish pretty much. After Shady Cove, you weren't bug and bubble fishing anymore. I mean, it was just a weed mat constant. And so it is that fertilizer and all the damage that they're doing to the resource.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. I agree, but I'm just stating my opinion on fishing it from my childhood till now. When we were put in at Tuville this time of year, we could fish from Tuville to Fisher's Ferry, and we wouldn't have a weed one come past us. When those jet boats go by me, there's balls of them going by. It's ridiculous. And
it goes back again. You look at the as many weeds as they kick up. What do you think that's doing to the reds?
No shit.
I mean, they're not the whole problem, but they are, we all have to agree that they're part of we're all part of the problem somewhere.
No, and it would be awesome to get Taylor Grimes on here to have a podcast and see what his thoughts are, being the owner of the jet boat excursions, because I've been told just in the last 24 hours that he doesn't feel it's a problem because he has fishing guys that work for him. So I'd love to hear his take on the whole aspect, just because apparently his fishing guides don't have the courage to stand up and say, yes, this is a problem, because they're getting steady income through the summertime because they're not busy enough to make a living. I don't know what it is, but that's just my take on calling a spade, but that's my feelings. And yeah, I had friends that don't even fish that told me they called rogue jet boat excursions, and that's what they were told is, we have fishing guides that work for us. If there was a problem, I think they would have told us about it. Okay. So that might be one to address. I'd just like to hear what he has to say about, let him defend himself a little bit, maybe.
Right. And I mean, what we see is like all these little issues. It could be the sportsmen harvesting fish. It could be the jet boats running over things. We see the effects of these, I think, more when the runs are low. Good water and good ocean conditions pretty much wipe out all of our complaints, because then we get good returns. And so, you have to start going more towards the root of the cause, because as fishermen, what I see a lot is we'll complain about all these little issues. It could be harvest. You got the catch and release guys that don't want any harvest. You got the jet boats. You got the guys complaining about sea lions, cormorants. The guys complaining about the commercial fishermen. It all gets wiped out as soon as we get good ocean conditions and water. We can't control the ocean conditions, but we can control the water. And so it's kind of trying to find that balance of allowing humans to thrive here in the valley, and also getting enough water back into the river. You know, because I mean,
Yeah.
if the river ran at 2,400 CFS all year, you're not going to have any complaints about fish. There's going to be plenty of fish coming back.
And
You know,
and that goes right to the point of the river could just about do that all year round if certain people could do simple math.
yeah.
Why do we dump 3,500 to 4,000 CFS when the lake's full for a month straight during springer season? Why do we do that? Because they're afraid of flood control for all the rich houses on the river. That's why. Why don't they match? I mean, here's a good question. Why don't they match what's coming in that time of year? Let it out. Same thing. Why don't they keep it full? Why don't they regulate that? They would rather get it lower so they have a huge safety zone where they don't have to worry about their multi-million-dollar homes getting flooded. That's, in my opinion, my 8-year-old kid could run the Army Corps of Engineers better than the Army Corps of Engineers runs it. I'm just saying. Dan Van Dyke, you should get him on here. He'd be a good talk for you.
Right. I mean, to Van Dyke's side, he doesn't control the water flows, but I mean, they do have an input. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that can be done.
He controls a lot of our fishery.
Yeah.
A lot of it, especially when it comes to the hatchery.
Yeah. I mean,
he does, and Ryan Battleson controls a lot of it. They both control a ton of our fishery. And that's what I'm saying, is all these people pointing fingers at ODFW don't need to be. They need to be pointing at those two because they're in control. They are the lead of operations when it comes to our fish. That's where the fingers need pointing.
I wish there was more transparency so we could actually know what is really going on. You know, what are you studying? What are the numbers? Why, when Gold Ray was pulled out, was there no contingency for getting a fish counting? Put sonars in the river. Like, there's no excuse not to have the data. You're a scientist. You're studying the river. You need data.
Those are questions. Those are questions you need to ask Van Dyke and Battleson.
Right. And so, Nate, one question for you, I guess, is like, I mean, how often have you ever been checked by an ODFW Creel person? Or have you seen them out there on the river doing the spawning counts?
I have never seen them checking on the Rogue River. I have seen them on the Elkin Sixes. And then I have been involved in the Broodstock program on the South Umpqua quite a bit. And those guys do a great job. But on the Rogue River, never. I've got checked by the state cops. That's about it.
Are you talking about the fish checkers cutting tails, counting dead salmon?
Anything? Have you ever seen the ODFW out on the river?
Nope. State cops.
No, I've seen them going down, cutting the tails off and counting the dead salmon.
Is that one section of river? Is that the whole river?
No, that's just from the hatchery to Shady Cove is the only place I've personally seen them. But I haven't seen them for it was probably the first couple years that I was guiding on the Rogue. And then I haven't seen them since then. You know, all those that, you know, are up river. Yeah, I seen them when we first started, just for the first couple years. How long ago was it when we did the no salmon left behind date? Well, that's 4 or 5 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4 to 5, right in there. Yep.
That'd have been about the last time that I seen him counting fish.
Yep, I didn't even see him that day, but
not that day, but that season I'd seen him.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him at all.
5 years, seen him.
Yeah. Yep. No, there's not much of that goes on the road.
I'll even put this out. If they wanted to, I would even donate my boat and row it.
I would too, if it's going to do some good.
You know, I mean, I would put my hat in that ring of rowing a person down to count fish. Absolutely. I would donate to that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah,
you see it on the coastal rivers. I mean, you see it over there a lot. The fisheries that are good, I mean, top-notch, excellent fisheries where there's broodstock programs where we should have one here, and I've tried to I mean, I told him, I said, I probably can get a box donated for the bed of my truck, and I will let my wife run that and come pick up Broodstock steelhead for winter steelhead. I'll donate it completely. Nope. Shut it down. Won't do it. Because they don't trust us enough to handle the fish.
I mean, Todd and I were talking a little bit about the sonar, and Todd was saying that got shut down. I mean, they shut down the Broodstock. They seem to not, to me, it seems like they want to shut down anything that makes them have to do more management, just in my personal opinion. It seems like, I mean, I know when they took out Gold Ray, they said that they no longer, with that counting station be out, they no longer had to manage the river so that they could open it up to a harvest of wild springers after that point, because they had no way of knowing how many fish were in the river. When I've been trying to find data on the hatchery counts, fish over Gold Ray, and it's almost impossible to find anything prior to 2005. And
I got the printout.
Perfect. But like, why is it so hard? We live in the 2022. Everything should be online. It should be updated 24/7 automatically.
It's public record, Stephen. You can go to the fish hatchery and you can talk to Dave Pease, and he will print you out. I think it's from like 1980 something on. You can get the counts of everything.
So
print it on a piece of paper. It's public record.
So we're going to have to do that every time somebody wants that data versus uploading it once to the internet and then it's there for forever. Like, I'm confused here.
Yeah. Well, I've got the piece of paper. I can show you the printout from their database.
Right. But my thing is, like, we don't have access to that data. There's no transparency.
I know, and it's supposed to be public record.
We can sit here and complain about the jet boats, whatever we want to complain about, but we really don't even know how many fish are spawning in the upper Rogue right now. We can go off of what ODF is telling us from their spawning counts and stuff, but we used to have this accurate count, fairly accurate, and now we have nothing. So how are we supposed to manage a river? How are we supposed to do anything without that kind of data?
Exactly. You can't.
Yeah. No, you can't.
You can't. Can't do it. And it goes right back to the winter steelhead, killing a wild winter steelhead. How are they counting those? What tells them that it's okay to kill one per day per angler? Because as a guide, I can tell you right now, I could kill over 100 in a couple months with just clients.
Right.
That would be dumb. I don't allow my clients to kill any wild steelhead, but I could kill a couple hundred in a month and a half or so. Why?
Right.
2 months. Why? What makes sense about that? And you times that by 7 or 8 guides if they're in there. I mean, we're taking out, 1,400 fish. How smart is that?
How do you
come on, we don't have that big of wild steelhead run to be killing 1,400 between 6 or 7 boats, right?
No.
Who can argue that? That's dumb.
How do you guys feel about the new tag, where for the Rogue they're putting that new tag that you have to pay extra for to be able to keep a wild steelhead?
I don't care about it because I don't let anyone keep them.
So again, that just shows me they're just trying to generate revenue. That was the basis of the whole thing and you know what? Hey, charge me $10 more for my license and eliminate that wild card. It's
get rid of it. That's dumb.
That's what frustrates me is it goes right back to a revenue thing. They did it just to, hey, if you want to, all right, those fish are worth however many dollars to the state. For those 3 steelhead are worth what, $20 to the state?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, charge me $20 more on my license.
With 2,700 to 3,200 babies in them, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Good
so
math.
It makes but it's like everything else. Follow the money. They seen a way. Look at I'm not even going to open up this box. The Columbia River endorsement.
Do it.
I just said it. Columbia River endorsement.
Did they get rid of that? Because I know it's been pointless, but it's still a thing.
No. Yeah, you still got to pay it. So I mean, it's just revenue, man. So like I said, up everybody that wants to go fishing $2. You're going to generate the same amount of revenue. You're not going to ruin a resource.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, they say
So-
I know what they're saying with the Rogue River tag is so that they can raise the revenue, so that they can study the steelhead, that they can do more studies on how many we're actually catching and everything. But I mean, I guess it goes.
Okay,
That's-
I will.
that's a
Okay,
joke.
so
That's a joke.
well, I don't. I think it's their idea of a happy medium of trying to balance. If they do the study, then I get it. You know, I do understand that philosophy of the people that are killing wild steelhead. Let them fund the research. I mean, that makes sense to me in a business way.
How do you do the research without accurate data, though? Like, we don't have a fish count, a sonar down there below the mouth of the Illinois to count every wild steelhead coming up here. We don't have one below the mouth of the Applegate. Like,
over the 10 years, we're going to decimate a resource to get a little bit of data.
Yep, 100%. We already are decimating it. It's
Right,
already happening.
Right.
It's already happening, and that's why I've gotten confrontations with fellow guides that are actually friends of mine about killing wild steelhead. It's asinine what they're doing. Come on.
It is.
If hitting that fish in the head means that much to you, go to Lost Creek Lake and whack a bunch of trout. It's ridiculous.
right. I mean,
If
you want to,
if you can't get your clientele to understand before they go fishing with you that fish means more in the river than it means in your freezer, then you are not a good guide. I'm sorry, but you're not. I've told my clients that really wanted to kill one, I will give you $50 off this trip, and you can go to Safeway and buy a piece of frozen fish, because that's all you're going to do is put it in the freezer and you're going to eat it when it's freezer burnt. I'll get you your great picture.
and I mean,
But I'll
really,
give you money back off your trip to not kill that fish. And
And the
most
thing-
of them take that and they understand it. If you tell them right and how many fish that fish is going to produce and then give them the survival rate, they go, oh man, that's bad. And yeah,
Right.
it is bad.
The other thing is that $50 you're giving back to your client could actually buy them a higher quality piece of meat. You can go buy a piece of sockeye
Yeah.
from
Oh,
Costco.
100%.
You could buy a bag of sockeye
Go
from
buy
Costco for $50.
Go buy a filet mignon.
And it's going to be much higher quality. Like, that's one of my things is we're allowing this harvest on winter steelhead, which really aren't high quality. They come into the river ready to spawn. They spawn pretty fast. They don't have a high fat content. You catch a chrome bright one, it's not going to eat as good as like a dark summer run or a spring salmon.
Yep.
So
No,
what's the point? Like,
it's
just
bad.
to allow that opportunity to allow somebody to
Just-
harvest it, but
well, and part of it, Stephen, is getting to that boat ramp and showing everybody what you got.
You
That's part of
did
it.
right. Goodme.com is
That's part of it, is bragging rights. When you get to that boat ramp at Tuvell or Fisher's Ferry, when you're showing all the fancy elite down there, what you got, it's unbelievable to me. It made sense to me. It made sense to me years ago to stop doing that. It really did. It made sense to me, and it's caused issues with me and guys that I thought were friends. And you know what? That's fine. I spoke my mind, and we all know who they are. And if they continue doing it, then I'll continue speaking my mind. They're continuing to take away from a resource that we hardly have. That's the bottom line.
I agree. But hey, I hate to cut it short, guys, but I'm in my truck, and so I'm not going to keep getting dark. So pretty soon you're not going to be able to see my beautiful suntan and my double chin. Thank you, Stephen. So I'm going to have to wrap it up.
we've hit that hour and a half mark anyways. So real quick, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about?
I'm good.
Nate?
I'm not.
Let's do it again soon, because I think we got another hour and a half in us.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
always in, Nate.
All right.
absolutely.
All right. I didn't get a call. I missed one call out. If Todd can hang on for 5 more minutes, I missed one call out that needs to be called out.
Go ahead.
We got 5
brother.
minutes. We can
All
see
right.
Todd's beautiful face for 5 more minutes.
All
I
right. So
think.
So we got an organization that changed hands, 2 years ago?
Which one?
It was the Rogue River Guides Association, right?
Okay.
Yes.
I think
I don't know when they changed hands, but recently, yeah.
I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
It was 2 years ago when
2 years ago?
Bullet and Shane took it over.
Yep. So it was hot and heavy for the first 2 months, and that's a nonprofit, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was excited about that. I mean, I went to the meeting and I voted, and the guys that are voted in, I voted for them, and they're out making money off the fisheries, but they are doing nothing for the fisheries. I don't see anything coming from those guys, so I think I need to call them out and tell them they need to get up and do something with that nonprofit. If they're going to be president and vice president, they probably should get on the ball, because I mean, if there's guys paying money to see it go somewhere, it should go somewhere. There hasn't been a meeting for how long?
No,
you guys are doing something here compared to what they're doing. They're doing nothing. That doesn't make me real happy.
well, and in a little bit of their defense, we have met with both of them, and what they got handed, it laid dormant for a pretty long time before they seen a problem and seen that they wanted to fix it, and did not realize the amount of work that it takes to do that. And they're doing the best they
Hold on.
use my word.
They're not doing anything. What are you talking about?
No, they are, they're trying to figure it out. I will tell you that they're trying to figure it out, how they can make it work in between their schedules and getting it operational. And again, it's going to take, the way I've read the bylaws on that group, and I think the bylaws need to be amended to incorporate more people, because what they took on that's for a retired guy. That is not for people that are trying to make money for their family. But I think collectively, between all the guides, I know it's not dead, and I'm still, after talking with both of them, I'm still excited about it. But it's going to take a lot more. It's going to take a lot more than what it is currently. And that's got to be, to change bylaws is not an easy thing. You got to hire an attorney. But it can be done. And so
it needs addressed no matter what to get the ball rolling. If they need help, they need to ask for help and get it going, because that sat dormant, like you said, for so long and went nowhere. And then they got handed a pile of.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it just. But I know I know both of them are still very passionate about it. They just, the learning curve of it and everything that it entails, it's going to be a little bit yet. I mean, those bylaws are set up in a way that really, I will tell you, that really handcuffs them to rules that are outdated for today's world.
Well, and my main statement there was, if you're going to take membership money, you better at least produce and have meetings and tell everyone what's going on. It's been
I
real
agree.
quiet for a long time.
Yep.
And if you're not going to let people know what's going on, especially the people that you took money from, then there's going to be people that are probably going to get pissed off. So maybe at least inform people that we're trying or something once in a while, because it could be a great organization that could go someplace with the right people involved. And if they need help, they need to reach out and get help.
Yep.
I'd agree with that. I mean, it's, as a collective, as fishing guides, you kind of have to take a step back. You're utilizing this resource. You're trying to make a living. You're trying to provide for your family. But you have to invest back into what is providing your life. You have to put money into it. You have to put time into it. You can't go fishing for 45 days straight on a season, you have to take, a week every month at least to work on investing back into that resource.
Yep.
And I think that
It's
goes
the
for,
only thing that's going to fix it.
I don't think that's just a Rogue Rivers Guides Association. I think that's guides pretty much everywhere. You have to realize that this is the resource that's providing a living for you. You have to invest back into it, and it's gonna take hiring people full time for you to actually work on that, so that you don't have to dedicate those 2 weeks every month to be able to get somewhere.
Yep.
That's why Todd and I started up Northwest Fishing Club, is we want to go to work for everybody. We want to figure out this issue. We want to go to work for you guys and make your life as guides easier, so that you can actually have more time for the friends and family and actually having a life rather than just that 24/7 grind for 3 months out of the summer.
All the guides that I fish around and know, on various levels, I literally can't put a name to anyone that would not do anything, to help the fishery out. We all have the same idea. The only difference is the path that we all have is a little bit different. And that's where, the meetings are so important, is coming together and address those meetings. Like we said, have it structured. You can't have 50 guides in a room, everybody trying to talk at the same time about what they feel is the most important part. You got to have it structured to where, everybody that wants to talk gets 10 minutes, where you're not talking over everybody. So you're not yelling, and, cause the second you raise your tone to a certain level, that it comes across aggressive, and then it goes into confrontation, we're a fickle group. We're not.
Yeah.
We're all very emotional about.
So now I need your time for another 3 minutes after what you just said.
No, I'm in my truck at the park.
No, hold on. I can
right.
see you just fine. So, what you just said about the 40 or 50 guides in the room, blah blah blah, wouldn't do something to help out the fishery. Well, I'll take it right down to a fishery, and I'll say the name of the South Umpqua and a broodstock tank where there's 30 or 40 boats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many
I'll take it.
How many people have tanks? Isn't there quite a few?
There's at least 12 to 14 with tanks, and I can tell you there's 2 to 3 that carry that program, and that ain't right. So, so as many guys go take from that resource and do not give back, and I have to, myself and another guide have to make a float down that river and fill our tank with 4 or 5 fish, wild fish, and all of a sudden our tank's full. These fish are going to die if we don't get them to the hatchery program. We got to leave the good fishing. We dump the fish off, which our tank's 100 and some odd pounds. It's an extra person on our boat, basically. And I have that tank every single day I fish that river. So I leave good fishing. I motor down river. I donate my fish, and I have to pay another $25 shuttle after I put back in. And I have to take my clients off of good fishing because they're willing to donate fish for our hatchery program. But how is it right for 2 or 3 guides, mostly 2 guides, to donate all the fish that are needed for the Broodstock program when there's 30 or 40 boats on that river? And tell me right now, if you fished that every day that it was fishable, either one of you wouldn't be pissed off if you were donating all those fish every day.
Oh, I would be, but
that goes to your statement of all these guides that that.
No, I didn't look at it.
If they could, everybody up there that fishes that river has a chance to help out. They're just lazy.
So we have
take.
I'm going to put it right back in your court of what the problem is. How do we get them to participate? Is it revenue? Is it money? Is it, I mean, what do you think is, we know the problem. What do you think is the solution to getting this? I mean,
there needs to be gratification for first, second, and third, whoever donates the most. As long as you have the bragging rights and
belt
buckle,
money,
you just need bragging rights. You need a trophy or a belt. That's all anyone ever wants, is to be first, second, or third. If we had something in play up there where it was a competition, of how many wild fish can you donate to the Broodstock program this year?
You just have a list of everybody and how many that they've donated, and then you can obviously see not only who's donating the most and providing the most to that resource. Now you've got a competition. Hey, this guy seems to catch more fish than everybody else. I'm going to go fishing with him. So it's leading to more revenue for you just that way.
Exactly. Right. But I already know who normally donates the most and the second most and third most, and it's a ton of weight on those guys' shoulders to do that much for that fishery because they care about it that much. But there's other guys when you show up there that will sit there and run their mouths because it's not your home river, blah blah blah. So it's one of those things where people need to know and be informed of that opportunity to give back to that fishery. And if there's something at stake of, hey, there's a competition going on this season, I'm gonna try to get in there, and it would take a lot of weight off of other guys' shoulders too.
So
if every guide up there donated 5 or 10 wild fish per season, there's other guides that wouldn't have to donate 30 or 40.
So what does it take to get to be a part of the program, Nate? Is it as simple as going to Willie Boats and having them and buying a tank?
There's already tanks. They're dispersed throughout guides that don't do anything. So I think if a guy shows up in Canyonville and talks to the Game and Fish up there, the volunteers, all you got to do is get on the list. They give you a box.
You can have a tank, and that negates. So
you have to be
wild fish. You can't have wild fish.
You have to get permitted through them, which involves just talking to them. Getting on their program is all it takes. It takes like 5 minutes. They'll give you a tank, a battery, and you're off.
Got you.
So there's like 15 tanks out there not being used, and I won't say names. There are a lot of great guys that we all know that do not utilize them, maybe once or twice a year. If there were guys that utilized them 5 times a year and donated it, and it goes further than just catching fish. You see another guide boat, and you put your pride aside and you go over there and say, hey, is that a wild fish? Yep. Okay, it's a nice one. You put it in your tank and you donate it. It's that easy.
I had a few guys do that.
Doesn't have to be caught in your boat. What's
that? When I was fishing up there and guiding up there, I'd have guides. Anytime they saw me land a nice wild fish, they'd come over. If they had a tank, come over and ask to take it. So,
well, and it's gotten bad lately because Coal Rivers, after the hatchery burned down up there, that Rock Creek thing, Coal Rivers is raising the fish. They're taking the fish from Canyonville that we donate, and they're bringing them down to Coal Rivers. And there's guides that have guided there their whole lives that they're talking about leaving their tanks in their driveway, blah blah blah. They're not going to do it because Coal Rivers has their fish. Well, I think a little bit's more than none. I mean,
where are they going to raise them until they get their hatchery rebuilt, though?
Yeah, exactly. They had nowhere to go, but these guys up there are so ignorant that they're not wanting Coal Rivers to raise their fish, so they don't want to donate them.
Right.
If we don't donate, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, it ain't going to be very good.
Nope. So that was my last rant, gentlemen.
Well, you did good.
Yeah. It was a good talk tonight, Nate. Before we let you and Todd get out of here, we always like to ask our guests for a piece of alpha. So what's your life advice or fishing advice for everybody that's tuning in right now?
Well, mine probably wouldn't have to do with fishing tonight. It would be more so just to do something kind every day for somebody. do something generous, whether it's opening a door for somebody at the store, or just make a nice gesture and maybe help somebody out that's in need. I've had plenty of help from several good friends in the past year that meant a lot to me. So everybody's always a little hesitant to take from somebody willing to give. So maybe take once in a while and then give back whatever you can.
Absolutely, I like it.
I love it. All right,
Mine's
Todd.
mine's fishing. It's kokanee. Don't reinvent the wheel. All you need is corn and tuna. That's it. That's it.
I like it. Mine's going to be fishing tonight too. If you're down there in Gold Hill, use Potski cured eggs because it's going to outfish everything for you. All right, guys.
And fillet away fish mats.
Yeah. With that, Nate, if somebody was interested in taking a trip with you, where can they find you?
Oh, they can look me up online, nkfishingguides.com, or if they're looking for the Odell Lake thing, you got to get a hold of Todd Logan's Guide Service. My phone number is 541-499-9922.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you again this is a great conversation tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to continue this conversation either another night or in the Discord or on social media.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there will be a few people talking. And so if you are tuning in, we'd love to have you join the Discord. There's a link in the description that you can find it. You can always find Todd and I on there, and hopefully we'll get Nate in there as well. And we just love talking fishing. We're more than willing to help people out and have these conversations about everything to do with the fishing. You know, we just want to get people's opinions because nobody's right about everything. You just have to kind of figure it out as a collective and go from there.
Start the conversation. It's just all of our opinions. It's if it makes you upset, then be upset.
Yep.
I mean,
Tell us about it.
absolutely. Let's talk. Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Yep.
100%. All right, guys. And with that,
hey, guys.
everybody,
Okay.
have a great night.
Let's do this. Let's do this again right after hunting season.
I'm down.
Yeah. I'm in.
Good night, guys.
Good night.